Hello, everyone. This is Phil Yeager. It is Saturday, February 17th. It's 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here in Maryland. And I want to welcome you this morning to this live class. You know, it's a Facebook Live. And what I'm going to talk about is that on this past Thursday, I believe it was February the 15th, the AICPA gave a webinar which was called The Essential Guide to the CPA Exam Blueprints. Now, what we will try to have on our site so that you can watch this is a link to get to it, all right? It's not on our site yet, on the Facebook. It's not on our Facebook now, but we're going to try to put a link on our Facebook over the next couple of days this week. So look for that. And watching this, it actually might help you. But what I want to do today is, and please bear with me, okay? I want to give you a little history of how we studied for this exam, including how I studied. Well, I took the exam back in, that's 1973, 74. And back then, it was paper and pencil exam. And we took the exam in May and November. And we could walk out of that exam with our exam booklet. They gave us the questions. And everyone had the same exam throughout the country. And at the end, we took our booklets home, all right? Now, we didn't know what the correct answers were, all right? But we could take the questions home with us. And that went on for quite a period of time, probably till about May of 1995. And what was happening was also, when I was studying for the exam, all right, they repeated the multiple choice and the large problems. In fact, if you took a course who actually just went over questions, the old questions, and the large problems, you could easily pass. In fact, the names were the same. The numbers were the same. Now, the review course I took didn't know that. They didn't figure it out. Another course did in the area, and this guy was getting these people 95% pass rate because all he did was go over old questions, all right? And he didn't care whether you understood why the answer was A, B, C, or D, all right, because these questions would be asked again. And because they were the same exact words, numbers, you know, if you do these things long enough, you know the answer is A. You may not know why, but you know it's A or B or C. Now, the AICPA, after about November of 1995, all right, they stopped releasing the questions to the students. So when the students left the exam center, it was still paper and pencil, when they left the exam center, all right, they had to leave their booklets there. And they had a sign under penalty of death, just about, all right, that they wouldn't tell anybody, all right, what their questions were, what the topics were, all right? And by the way, the people were scared. You read, it says, under penalties, according to ethics code so-and-so, all right? So people would come out, the booklets would be left there. Now, that allowed the AICPA now to repeat questions if they wanted to in the future, but know that those people have not given those questions to other people, and those questions were not released or sold to the public. The problem was, all right, the exam at that time, paper and pencil, the AICPA had really problems in getting graders because they had live people come to New York for 6 weeks and grade the exam. And they didn't pay them that much, and it was very expensive to, you know, to go to New York for 6 weeks if you wanted to grade the exam. So they continued on with the process of the paper and pencil exam. Then they announced, all right, they had entered into a contract with Prometrics, and Prometrics was going to computerize the exam, and, you know, and they would be able eventually to get the results to you immediately. And obviously, it wouldn't require the number of graders, but this is what happened, all right? As I told you, starting in November of 95, they stopped releasing the questions. And they stopped selling the questions to course providers, all right, and students. Now, what do we do to use to get questions that are in our books? Well, we, like every other review course, we have a licensing agreement with the AICPA, and they release in their licensing agreement to us, about 5,000 multiple choice questions, all right, from old exams. All right, now, they don't update the questions. All right, all they give us is the answer A, B, C, or D when the question was given. So the thing with that is we have to constantly update those questions as the tax laws change or the new pronouncements come out. All right, but it's only 5,000 for all the parts, multiple choice. Now, if a course has more than 5,000 multiple choice, I'm going to tell you this right now, and I've mentioned this, okay? Those are author-constructed questions, all right? They are not the AICPA's questions. And also, the 5,000 multiple choice questions they released to us are really on a lower level. They were based on when the exam was content specification. They're not the higher level questions they give now, all right? So, you know, going over those is probably enough. You don't have to keep doing thousands and thousands of questions, and I'll explain to you why in a second. Now, what about the simulations? Well, you have these courses that say we have 500 task-based simulations, all right, in our course. Well, the AICPA does not release simulations. Maybe they have released to us. And by the way, they release a few questions each year to us for the ones who lease it, all right? But when they release multiple choice, they don't tell us the explanation of the answer. They just say it's A, B, C, or D. And what we do is we take those multiple choice and we figure out why the answer is A, B, C, or D. And we update them, et cetera, et cetera. All right, but they don't release to us the task-based simulations. All right, we know what the tests look. We know what the template looks like. We know what the task-based simulations look like. Not necessarily what material they're going to ask in those simulations, but we know what they look like. So what you should do is this, all right? And I'm going to talk about now the seminar that we listened to, that I want you to listen to once the link is up there, all right? First of all, the CPA exam that I took and all candidates took prior to April, I think, of 2017, was a content specification, all right? It was based on the AICPA content specification. And it said, you know, for example, in financial accounting, they would test business combinations, they would test inventories, all right? But they weren't specific on the tasks. And also, all right, the people who were passing, all right, the questions were lower level, the multiple choice, and the problems weren't what we call anything dealing with critical thinking, evaluation, all right? They were just large problems, very similar to the ones I took, but, all right, large problems that could be machine graded because the exam is now machine graded. All right, now, so in this blueprint presentation we saw, they said, all right, one, all right, because questions came from people. How am I going to study for these task-based simulations? And they said, go to the AICPA website, of which we'll give you the link, and look at the sample simulations we give. And they give a sample simulation of a task-based simulation, document simulations, written communications, and they give some multiple choice for you to practice and some research. Okay? Now, the bottom line is this. When you are studying for this exam, because they stated on this video, it wasn't video, it was audio, it was a webinar. They showed us slides. All right? They stated that what's going to be tested on this exam is the blueprints. Nothing more, nothing less. All right? So what we decided to do was we decided we had to write our own books. And we actually structured, I must say, all right, the person who came up with this idea, all right, Megan, who works for me, well, she works with me. No one works for me. That sounds like I'm a slave owner. All right. Anyway, Megan Levchuk, who's my chief operating officer, she came up with the idea, if Jaeger's going to write their own books, write them with the blueprints, because the blueprints are what they're going to ask now. No more content specification, the blueprints. So we started with every blueprint, and what we had to do, now the blueprints are actually on the AICPA.org website, but, all right, they don't explain to you what's the material under each blueprint, they spell out the tasks. Like, for example, they'll say you have to know FIFO, LIFO, average cost, the different cost flow inventories for perpetual and periodic. So we wrote our books explaining every blueprint. If it said journal entries, we gave every journal entry. And then throughout our book, we have sample questions after we cover concepts. Now, we don't have millions of questions because of this reason, all right? Going over old questions is not going to help you because all it does is, first of all, the old questions, as I told you, is not higher level. The multiple choice they ask now are higher level questions, all right? The simulations are higher level, all right? So, you know, going over old large problems is not the answer. And also, all right, going over these task-based simulations and that are given by other course providers, we do give some. We created ones, but they're what we created. Just like the task-based simulations that are provided you by other course providers are prepared by the course provider, all right? So in this webinar, they said this, because questions were asked, all right? How do you study for the task-based simulations? Well, the person who answered that question said, go to the AICPA.org website, look at our samples, they give you 2 or 3, all right? And remember, it's like a template. So you have to know the functioning of how the simulation works. That's the key thing, all right? What each button does. And if you understand all the material in every blueprint, because that's what they're going to ask you, all right? All you're going to do is you're going to take the information that you learn, all right, but knowing from what's in each blueprint, and you'll basically take it and you'll put it in the testlet. I didn't say that right. You'll put it sort of in that template. So what you'll do is, all right, you will know how to work each task-based simulation. And, all right, being that you must know the material, what happens is this, okay? All right, if you know the material under each simulation, then you'll just take it, what you've learned, and put it into the task-based simulation that you are given. You don't memorize stuff, okay? You got to understand this. And because it's higher level, critical thinking, evaluation, they may give you documents to look at, you know, letters to evaluate certain things. But one thing you must remember is, all right, you have a limit on how much time you can spend on each simulation. And normally, we recommend on a task-based simulation no more than 15 minutes. Now, what's going to cause people to fail? All right, you're going to have several simulations in each part. And by the way, if you go to the AICPA website, they'll basically tell you how many simulations per part. But let's assume you have a simulation. You know that you only have roughly 15 minutes to work on it, okay? What you do is you go to the stem of the question, see what they're asking for. Now, they may give you so much information, but if you look at what they're asking for, it's not a lot, all right? So you spend 15 minutes, watch your time. Now, if there are 6 possible things they're asking for, all right, and you've come to the 15 minutes and you've only done maybe 4 of the 6 things, all right, what do? You stop, all right, because you must show them you know something about the topics and the simulations, which means you don't have to tell the AICPA you know everything about that topic, about that one simulation. So if you do all that simulation, eat more than that 15 minutes, and leave out other simulations, you're going to fail, all right? No doubt in my mind. So it's better to do some of each simulation than 100% of some and leave others blank, all right? Please remember that, because somehow, all right, they can determine a profile based on how much you answer of each simulation, all right, if you know the material, which means that you don't have to answer every part of that question because 1, they know you don't have enough time, and 2, all right, no one can remember everything about a topic, but they can determine, because this is all computerized, It's got algorithms in it, algorithms, all types of things. All right, so you got to answer every simulation, even if you do a part of each one, spending no more than 15 minutes. And you do the same thing with the multiple choice, roughly a minute and a half. Now, do not, I repeat, do not do thousands of multiple choice, and I'll say it again, because, all right, there's only 5,000 really that were released, least to me and every other course, all right? All those other ones are the course providers, their questions that they create. And you know what? They don't know. You know, I don't know what they're going to ask, but, you know, I just buy these least questions, and, you know, because students have to do multiple choice. All right. But remember, these multiple choice that I least, they're lower level. The ones they give down on the exam are higher level. All right. They're more complicated, which means you have to understand the concepts. All right. And practicing the old multiple choice. All right. Eventually, if you do multiple choice over and over, you're going to memorize the answer, and you're not going to know it if they ask it to you. All right. In any other format. All right. You got to understand. That's the key thing. And also, you don't have to do hundreds of these task-based simulations, which the course providers provide you, because they, once again, are author-constructed. And really, what you have to know to answer a simulation is this. You have to know how a simulation works, all right? Basically, by going to the AICPA.org website, know what the different buttons are. All right, you can practice the research, and if you know how the format works and you know all of these blueprints, then you will pass the exam, all right? And you don't have to get 100% right, all right? The exam has a cut score, all right, which means that, all right, you could probably do less than 75% and get 75%. You don't have to know everything, and they're not expecting you to know everything. Don't panic. But, all right, you must study for this exam. And if you are still using the old content specification and you never go over these blueprints, and by the way, to my best of my knowledge, we're the only course that has books which were written for the blueprints. All right? Maybe other courses mention the blueprints, but we actually wrote the information for the blueprints, and we update this. And also, I'm an approved course provider of the AICPA. Not all the CPA review, well, some of them, I don't call them courses, but some of the CPA, sell CPA stuff, they're not approved providers. They can't get into this association. All right? And what's the advantage? I go to New York. In fact, I'm going in March. All right? And we meet with the AICPA Examination Division. And they basically tell us what's changing, all right? In a lot of cases, we can't tell the public, all right? Certain things we're not allowed to tell the public. They say to us, don't tell everything, okay? All right? But also, we meet in August at the AAA, American Accounting Association annual meeting once again, and we meet with the Total Examination Division, and we meet with the head of the examination, and they provide us guidance, which is very helpful, all right? And I know the head of examinations. I had lunch with him, and he says, it's amazing how many people don't know the blueprints exist. In fact, there was a poll question in this webinar that said, what percentage of you know about the blueprints or had some knowledge about it? All right, I think the poll gave an answer of more than 50% of the people didn't know about the blueprints. All right, so please follow the blueprints. I can't overemphasize that. All right, if you do that, they're telling you what the tasks are. They're making it easier for you than when I took the exam. I just knew they were going to ask inventories. But now they tell you specifically the tasks that you have to know for the inventory. For example, conventional retail is no longer tested on the exam. It's not one of the blueprints. So if a topic is not one of the blueprints, then you don't have to know it. Anyway, if you have any questions, all right, please contact me at Yeager CPA Review. Our number is 301-874-4900. And let me just mention this. I've been in this business more than 40 some odd years. And luckily, I always said I wanted to be in a position where I could do something, not because I had to do it for a living money. All right. I do this and I stay in it because I enjoy helping the people. I enjoy talking to the students. All right. I try to give them advice. I try to keep them encouragement. And that's the one thing. All right. With Yeager CPA Review, my course, and call it a promotion, whatever you want to call it. All right. I talk to the people. They can get a hold of me today if they call me. They're shocked. All right. It's not where you pay, take the course, and don't bother me. That's not the way it works. People really want their hand held. They want to be able to talk to someone when they're down, because studying is no fun. All right. So I do it because I enjoy talking to students. And as long as I still enjoy talking to students, all right, I'm not going to retire. I'm never going to retire. All right. I will not retire until everyone passes the CPA exam. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry if I kept you a little late today. All right. I hope I gave you some history that is valuable about the exam. And also, please be aware when you buy a course, all right, of what these people tell you, because they want to sell you their course. All right. I want you to buy a course because really, in essence, I want you to pass the exam. All right. So keep that in mind. Good luck. Please call me. And once again, I don't know if I gave the number. I'll start talking. 301-874-4900. 301-874-4900. Listen to the extension for Phil. You can call me. Feel free. I will answer any questions you may have. And if I can't answer it, I'll give you someone who will answer it. Take care, everyone, and have a wonderful, if you're off President's Day, Monday, have a good weekend. Enjoy the weekend. And I hope it doesn't snow where you are, because it's going to snow tonight where I am. Take care and good luck.